On blast.
The feed is up. I see a red light. And that means that we are live. This is the Wrap It Up podcast. My name is Sheldon Alexander. Joining you once again as the Toronto Raptors improve to 8-1.
8-1.
After a 107-98 victory over the Phoenix Suns. Again, my name is Sheldon Alexander. I'm joined by two of my friends, as I'm always joined by my friends. And I have lots of friends, or at least I like to think so. One side, I got my guy Brendan Dunlop with me. Dunlop, what's up, man? Thank you.
How you doing? Thanks for having me. It's nice to be here.
It's nice to have you. I'm happy you could join us, you know? It's cool having you here.
Just because they're on the West Coast doesn't mean people aren't fiending for their wrap-it-up fix, you know?
It's needed. It's needed, right? We like it. And on the other side, I got Bellamo. Mike, what's going on, man? How
Good. I'm on my 5-hour energy, so I'm ready to go. The West Coast games.
Everything's good.
Love them. Good, man. Thanks for having me.
So I appreciate you guys coming out, not only because, you know, you're my boys and thanks for supporting the cause and supporting the podcast, but also it's a West Coast late and it's the Phoenix Suns. And you know what? A lot of people might have been like, oh, it's the Suns. Raps should just blow them out. It might not be that entertaining, but I think we got a better game than we expected. And it's because the Phoenix Suns, they hung around. They were kind of pesky for a while, no? Like, what did you make of this game just from how your opinion going in to what actually happened?
I expected this game to be closer than people would have thought, simply because the Raptors tend to be that team that, you know, since they've been really good, take their foot off the pedal in games that you think that they should blow teams out.
Especially in the West Coast, too, yeah.
In the end, the scoreline looked exactly how we probably expected, or at least towards the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
The scoreline ended up finishing the way Vegas expected on the opposite side of the money, but that's a story for another day.
For that.
But when it was 20 points in the fourth quarter, that's what a lot of people thought would have played out. But they let the Suns kick around for a little bit, and then the bench mob put them away. So it's just a sign of evolution. Like us being here on a Friday night instead of at Everly or some other downtown Toronto.
Yeah, King Street. Yeah.
Right?
Mikey, were you a little worried about maybe the Raptors might be looking ahead to a huge back-to-back in LA and in Utah? Were you kind of worried about that?
Yeah, I thought they'd play down to their competition, and you could see in the first couple quarters, Phoenix is young, a bunch of young 20-year-olds, fast. They kind of caught the Raptors off guard, and they were up by 4, I think, at the halftime. But we both said at halftime, we said, the Raptors are probably up at 10, and we got to chat, and then the next thing you know, I was like, holy cow, they're up by like 11. And they held it to the end, and then, again, Vegas won at the end there by the 10. What we're talking about is a 10.5 spread in the last
10.5 point spread, and for some reason, magically,
a soft steal.
They happened to score right at the very end. It's weird how that happens.
Overall, good game, though.
Good game, and it was an interesting game, right? And I mean, maybe the way that the game started was a little different for people. It wasn't what people expected. I mean, the Suns were up 3 after 1. They led by 4 at the half. But then I think in the third quarter, things kind of went more to the Raptors that we're used to seeing. And I think this was the first time we kind of touched on it there, but we saw the bench kind of do what the bench, what we're used to seeing from the bench, right?
The fact that they can take over in the second half the way they did, and you look at the final stat lines, no one was put up over 20 points.
Yeah.
And Kawhi had a team-high 19.
Yeah.
So that just shows how they're sharing the load. And in games like this is exactly when you need to see them share the load. And when they're going to do it and pull out the result.
Exactly.
And not like in the seasons past where they struggle and they lose late, and then it sends them on a bad funk into the next game on the road.
Yeah, I always find, too, these kind of trips, it's like the Utahs or them, they never win. And it's good. I know Phoenix is Phoenix, but it is, you're right. It's good to see that they came out with a solid win across the board and everybody played pretty much to their par.
Yeah, it could be one of those things where you see a slip up, right? Because they're looking ahead. But I felt like their stars, and what I mean by their stars, I mean their starters more so, the Kyle Lowrys, Siakam, Kawhi. I think those guys really, once they were down, especially in the first half, I felt like in the third quarter, they came out and kind of like, okay, we're going to play defense. We're going to guard up. We're going to make this a tighter game. And then the game blew up with the bench and Freddie. And this was the first game had their full team. And we saw Fred VanVleet finally, you know, doing the Freddie thing where he's leading that second unit and getting Norm open shots, hitting some threes, right? The numbers don't really jump off the board for you for Freddie, but I think it was more like a control and a tempo thing, right? 6 assists from Freddie off the bench, but getting the guys off, I think that was the key, right?
Yeah, exactly. But and like like we said, nobody really jumped off the page. Well, Kawhi kind of did, but everybody was kind of an even part. We even said before that OG, almost in the third quarter, had like no points.
Yeah.
But you made the point that he's there for the defensive specialist, right?
Yeah.
And then the Fred VanVleet played good. And again, one of my surprises was CJ Miles finally broke through.
Yeah. So the other big talk that's going on right now is that, yes, the Raptors did win. Yes, they improved to 8-1. But, of course, we're kind of holding because Kawhi Leonard did leave for the locker room late in the fourth quarter. We're waiting on Nick Nurse to see if we can get an update. And
He just
if that does come
talked,
across,
actually, yeah.
if that does come across, I'll pass along that info as we go along here. But to me, the interesting thing, if we go back to just what happened throughout this game, why it was so important was last year, the strength of the team I found was they're just so much deeper than even the good teams, right? So against another good team, their bench is really good, and that would extend leads. Against a bad team, it's almost like their bench is better than that team's starters.
Yeah.
Right? Like Freddie could start on teams. Serge can start on teams.
Start on a lot of teams.
Yeah.
OG can start on teams, right? And that was kind of cool to see that aspect of this Raptors team back in action again. And one thing I want to ask you guys, though, and get your opinion on is tonight, JV got the start instead of Serge. Do you kind of like the back and forth way that Nick Nurse is running this and kind of playing the matchups with Serge and JV each game?
I think it gives them a lot of options to like be strategic against certain opposition and try out other things. I mean, we all know that JV flourishes when he can boost his confidence, and in those games in which he can really dominate his opposition.
Yeah.
He can be the most confident guy on the floor, and there are periods where that isn't the case at all, and the Raptors really struggle as a whole. That happens to come in big games late in the season when you don't want it. So if you can kind of play certain games to the to the benefits of other guys, certain guys, that's a huge luxury that every coach would love to have.
Yeah, I love it.
16-7 from JV tonight, 7-10 shooting. Were you
There you
impressed
go.
with JV?
I love it. I said earlier that there's going to be games like this throughout 82 games of the season where Ibaka could be sick or hurt or just not playing up to what he does all the time, and JV's going to have to show up. And the fact that you could put him in games like this might not mean as much, but starting, giving him that confidence boost, and he puts up the numbers, and in there with the lesser minutes, them switching back, like I said before, last podcast, it's like a first base platoon in baseball.
Yeah.
And that might not always work, but it is for the Raptors right now. And we will, and we always do the stats at the 5 for the Raptors, and it's consistently producing.
So tonight, 16-7 from JV. Serge off the bench with 14-4.
30
right?
points.
What did I say for
16. 16-7.
16-7 and
14-4. So 30.
Yeah, so 30-11. Right? Like that's
solid big man
production
numbers
again from your 5 spot. And the one thing I want to point out about Serge was kind of struggling early on in this game
with the shot.
And there was a run there which, I feel like even in the Casey era of this Raptors team, Kyle and the bench was always a theme. And there was a solid run where we saw the lineup out there was Kyle, Freddie, Serge. Sorry, an ad just popped up in my ear there on ESPN.com. Thank you. But no, there was a run there where it was Kyle, Freddie, Norm, and Serge, and OG on the floor, right?
Yeah.
And Serge was struggling, but Kyle came down and he just ran an easy pick and roll, dumps it off to Serge right in front of the basket.
Yeah.
Easy too.
Get his confidence
Next
going.
time, pick and roll, foul line, jumper. And that's the stuff where I say, Kyle Lowry's numbers have been great, but it's just those floor general type things like, hey, this guy's struggling. I'm going to get him an easy bucket. That, to me, has been the impressive part of Kyle Lowry. It's not just the stats. The stats are great, but it's those little things. Have we seen Kyle Lowry play the point guard role as well as he's playing right now?
I think he seems – no, I don't think we have. I think he seems like the ultimate captain.
Yeah.
He's exactly the team player that you want. And he's shown glimpses of that, and he was a leader for this team in years past to get them to this point, but – the fact that it seems as though he's like the ultimate team guy as well as being many nights the number one player on the court, that says so much about his game and where he sees this team right now and how he sees everyone fitting in with each other.
Yeah, and it's the perfect scenario where you came into the season not expecting or knowing is a better word what he's going to do.
Yeah,
and he's just shut up and played.
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Shut up and played. And he's letting his talk on the court. He's letting his play on the court be the talk, right?
He seems so motivated.
Yeah, it is. It could have been the complete opposite. He could have been disgruntled and all that. And he's not saying anything. I don't think he said anything negative towards the press or anything like that. And he's played his ass off. And
Kyle Lowry has just balled this year, and I like the fact that it's one of those things where we watch how athletes react in 2018 to the media, and are they listening to the hot take shows every single day, right? And I mentioned it before on an earlier podcast. I think he's listening. He listened to people wondering about, how is he going to play without DeMar? And he kind of took that as like motivation, like, you guys are worried about me?
Sure.
Okay, cool. And I mentioned this to you guys while we were watching the game, and I want to get your take on the air because I think I told you guys, no, don't say it now. We'll talk about it later. But I think that we discussed before. Okay, Kyle Lowry and DeMar. We watched the evolution of DeMar, and it kind of started. Here was Kyle, here was DeMar, and it kind of sort of switched up, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like the part that we forgot was that for DeMar to take that leap, Kyle had to let that happen. Like he kind of took a step back and let DeMar flourish into the DeMar we see now. And this, I think what we're seeing here is just that reminder of Kyle saying, no, I'm still that dude.
Yeah, we mentioned that last podcast, and it was you who said it, is that it was the DeMar show, but Kyle took a step back and kind of maybe as a good teammate or as a gesture of a best friend, he kind of had his song and dance and let DeMar do it. And now I think he's just so confident in Kawhi where he doesn't have to do it. He can play his game and know that Kawhi and the rest of the guys are going to be... I mean, it's confidence. It comes down to the team is stacked 11 through, and Kyle can just play his game without having to worry about... And honestly, maybe not having his best friend DeMar here could be the best thing for him, at least for this year.
I mean, it's just basketball,
yeah.
right? Like, as Kawhi's coming in and he gets called a robot or whatever, the negative spin that people try to put on his lack of personality.
Sure, personality-less.
Right? Yes.
Yeah.
But it's just
I've
basketball.
never heard that term before.
Right? It's just basketball. And I think, like, Kyle Lowry has done such a good job this year. I'm pretty sure I have the stat right. He finished with 12 assists today, but I think the stat was he ties Damon Stoudemire for the most consecutive games in a row with 10 or more assists.
Damon, not Amari, right?
What did I say?
No, it is.
I said Damon.
It
or
was
Amari?
Damon. Yeah, no,
Okay,
I
yes,
thought Amari last.
During the game, you had said
I thought it was
Stoudemire.
Amari.
Yes,
Stoudemire.
yes,
Yeah.
Which your reaction was?
It was Damon
must be
Stoudemire.
When was the last time you thought about Damon Stoudemire? When you
Until
bought that
tonight?
OG jersey?
Yeah, even before. I mean, you don't. It was in '95. Like you don't even really think about Mighty Mouse.
No.
Him and Marcus Camby.
What could have been?
Yeah.
And now we're
Popeye
here.
Jones.
Now we got Kawhi. And
Exactly.
we talked
now
about
we
this,
got
and I want to
Kawhi.
get your take. This is and again, shout out for coming on. Bellamo's been
Yep.
with us a bunch, obviously, during the season. This is Dunlop's first appearance on the Wrap It Up podcast. So thanks for coming through, because I know you're a busy man, So,
Yeah, I mean, there'll be Premier League to wake up for super early. I was watching Aston Villa struggle in the league championship today. I'm repping the other MLSC product that brought a title most recently, so I thought that was a good gesture. And I don't have any Raptors gear or cool clothing, I realized. So essentially, that was it. That really was it.
you might not have any Raptor gear, but I'm going to ask you if you have a Raptor take on Kawhi Leonard. Just because, I want to get your opinion, because obviously the big talk this season amongst Raptor fans is Kawhi and resting Kawhi. Is this real? I can't believe this is real. We have Kawhi Leonard. What's your overall take so far just on the Kawhi era of the Raptors?
I think, honestly, Kawhi's been the player I expected him to be. I think there was so many people, and it comes from the belief that good things don't happen to us. This can't be real. Well, he only played 9 games last year, and people thought, whoa, who are we going to get? We could be getting a completely different player if he's that player from 2 years ago.
He's not even going to dress. He's not even going to play.
He really, beyond questioning the team doctors of the Spurs, there was nothing that he showed us in all of last season to make you think that you were getting damaged goods.
Yeah.
Damaged goods that would make him outside of a top 25 player.
Exactly.
He's a top 3 player.
Exactly, for sure.
Top
1 in the East.
and
I mean, him and the Greek Freak, really.
Yeah, really, absolutely. They're 1 and 1A.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But
Depending on the night.
And it's like resume, I put Kawhi above.
Ahead,
if
of course.
I give the tie to Kawhi.
Yes, the veteran
right?
gets the, yeah, exactly.
My computer's loading, but Doug Smith tweeted something to the effect that Kawhi Leonard is fine. He's walking around the locker room. Raptors fans can exhale. Everything seems to be okay.
Cheers.
Is he
Cheers
laughing?
to that.
Is he laughing, though? That is the key.
Well, he is a fun guy.
He's a fun guy.
He's a fun guy.
So, I mean.
And we're fun guys.
I think so, right? So.
That's good news.
That is great news, right? Because I want the matchup of LeBron versus Kawhi.
Yes.
Like I think we're all super excited for that.
Yes, that's going to be good.
We all want to see that. And plus, I'm super excited just because the Raptors team, we saw the full arsenal. I mean, even CJ Miles, who we've been waiting for to see something. Yeah. Was it a good sign to finally see CJ hit some shots?
Oh, for sure. What do you get, 9 points? 3 or 3 from the you're fine. It was about time. We don't know if it was the curse of the GoDaddy. Was he on the GoDaddy or
GoDaddy?
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know if it was that.
Put those on in about an hour whenever this program wraps up.
But yeah, I mean, I think that it was kind of the Danny Green effect. Came in, took his spot. He didn't know where he fit in.
Yeah.
His Nick Nurse is
sit at the line and hit open threes.
But I mean, he had a bigger role last year, and Nick Nurse is probably trying to find his niche with him. And tonight was kind of the perfect game for him, where not a lot happened, and you know what I mean. He had that good 5 minutes, and just boom, boom.
Yeah. And
that in basketball, something as simple as that, it can just put a light on for you.
For sure.
Hopefully, he's never going to score. Well, not saying everybody, he's not going to be scoring you 20 points a night, but if he could get that 9-10 points a game off the bench, perfect.
The Raptors are a really rare team that have cycled through these all-star caliber 6 men, and their shelf life is really small. You think about someone like Jamal Crawford, career 6 man.
Amazing.
But he's not. I mean, he's played on 7 teams in the NBA, 9 teams in the NBA, but it doesn't seem like he's moving every year or every 2 years.
Yeah.
Whereas the Raptors went from Lou Williams in that spot. We're like, oh wow, what a pickup! How is this guy not starting? He'd start on any other team.
Yeah.
6th man of the year. And then we had it last year with CJ Miles, which was the exact same scenario to me. It was a player that was probably even better, or could depending on
better for the Raptors.
Where his spot was on the floor in the corner, how many times he could hit from there. And now that's with Danny Green, who I still think, and I think a lot of big basketball heads south of the border know that was one of the biggest pickups that the Raptors could have made.
That was the throw-in. That was a throw-in to match salaries, and that's what makes the trade even better. And that's how people can even complain.
Such a good trade.
Honest to God, and you could have
play on the Spurs.
You could have listened.
He doesn't get minutes.
No, so for him to be the throw-in.
I think kept forgetting that Danny Green was going to start on the Raptors.
And he was hurt. Yeah, of course.
No,
you're right. That was completely solid pickup.
That part that yes, you're trading Kawhi for DeMar, but you're also adding a starter to the team. And Danny Green is just a solid NBA player. He's a grown-up.
And someone who Kawhi feels comfortable with too, right? Which is a big factor.
Yeah. So no, they're saying Doug Smith on Twitter says it's a jammed foot for Leonard, according to Nick Nurse, still being evaluated. Also says Leonard was wandering around the locker room with no issues. Nurse said he doesn't think it is serious.
Okay, good.
So obviously Kawhi quotes will be coming across our screens shortly, and I will bring that to you as well. Again, just to recap, Raptors 107, Suns 98. Raptors improved to 8-1. Multiple ways to join us. If you go to Instagram at Sheldon Alexander, I see some people there in the live chat. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and we will get to your question shortly. Or if you're following on Twitter in the Periscope chat, you can do the same. Ask any questions. Click the link on Twitter. If you see us there waving at you, feel free to join in and ask questions about any and everything that is going on.
What's up, Pyle? OG from The Score.
Hey, shout out to that for sure. One thing I wanted to talk about tonight as well is obviously they're playing the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns aren't really a team that is like knocking on the door of the playoffs or anything like that.
But they got some expectations.
Yeah, they got some interesting young players, right? DeAndre Ayton was obviously the top pick in this year's draft. What did you make of the young big guy in the middle tonight? He had, as I bring up the box score
17 boards, 18 boards.
Yeah, he had a pretty solid
big game
stat-wise, right?
Probably one of the better ones of his early season.
17 and 18 tonight, 17 points, 18 rebounds. How did DeAndre Ayton look to you tonight?
A quiet 17 points. Did you say 18 boards?
Yeah.
18 boards, yeah.
I didn't notice that at all.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
It was like he doesn't stand out as much as his shoes.
Did this whole game though not feel like garbage time?
It
The
was
whole
sluggish
game.
Early. It was very sluggish early. We mentioned that, right? And even early into the third quarter, I felt like the Raptors really D'd up.
Yeah.
And then once things got tight for the Suns, the Raptors defense forced a little more offense. The bench came in, and there was that run where it was like, I think Freddie hit a 3, and then he found Norm. Norm hit like back-to-back threes, and
This
it was
is
jammed up.
It's a big win for the Raps just because these are the games that they overlooked that last year they would lose or merely win, right?
Yeah,
they won with ease. Like it was never really close after the second half. This is I like this.
You said to start the game, you were like, I don't know if I can name the Phoenix Suns team, and it's true, right? There's these dudes, and it's like their starting lineup: Trevor Ariza, T.J. Warren, DeAndre Ayton, Isaiah Cannon, and of course we all know Devin Booker. But like that is the most random team.
Beyond that, you're pulling dudes from the bench: Jamal Crawford, Tyson Chandler.
Yeah,
like
did
Ryan
they even get in
Anderson-
tonight?
Okubo.
No, Tyson Chandler did not
Okubo
play, but like 4 minutes for Jamal Crawford, Ryan Anderson minutes, right?
Yeah,
I'm just like, what? The team is super random. It was just a weird game, but it's an easy game that I'm not saying if the Raptors lost, but if it was like a close game at the buzzer or something, I would understand because you're looking ahead to the big time matchup against LeBron and the Lakers. No,
yeah. If they would have lost, then
no,
it would have. Yeah, it would have been going into Sunday night's matinee matchup or big matinees a date, and the matchup a little sour, right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of perfect that they went the way they did.
It is a super matchup though, so it's an all-day thing. You can
Yeah,
call it
you're
the
right.
breakfast
Yeah.
buffet of matinee.
What is the Sunday night game for football? Is
the
it
Sunday night game.
Yeah,
is,
it's the Packers, isn't it?
Packers and Patriots,
Packers
right?
And Patriots, yeah, big
Woo!
matchup Sunday night.
So we got two. Ooh, it's a good Sunday.
Better
It's
get the
gonna be
two.
dual-
Better get
Yeah,
the two
yeah, the
screens
double
up.
screen.
Yeah,
Screens
double
for
screen's gonna
sure.
be up for sure. Lots going on.
Brady
put the football on
Rogers,
mute.
Kawhi, and LeBron.
Yeah.
Right? And this is
That's
the
gonna
thing,
be
too,
good.
with this team, because you can throw multiple people at LeBron, especially LeBron playing the 4.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be Pascal getting that assignment, I'd assume.
Yeah.
Right?
You comfortable in that scenario?
Yes. I think
Because you love Pascal.
I love Pascal right
So
now,
do
but
I.
I also think you have so many guys you can throw at LeBron.
Yeah.
And especially
OG
this
too,
LeBron.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
OG will get some minutes on him. I bet like you'll even spell and have Surge on him a little bit. And obviously you have Kawhi, Danny Green can get some minutes for sure covering LeBron. And I think that's the thing. The more fresh bodies you throw at LeBron, especially at this age where I say it all the time, and I hate saying he's not trying, but he's not going ham all the time, right?
No.
Like he's very selective about the
Strategic.
spurts of energy. Strategic, yes.
Yes, yeah.
With how he uses his energy. And I think by throwing a lot of fresh bodies at him, you're putting more pressure on the other guys to step up. And
Yeah,
there's
the
a
Josh Harts and Kuzmas and Ingrams. They're a young team.
Are you finish your point? I don't want to cut you off, but
No, that was it. They're a young team, and
Yeah.
it seems like it's pretty much as far as they go as far as LeBron's going to take them.
Are you surprised that Ingram and Kuzma, maybe Kuzma more so than Ingram for me, haven't shown more having LeBron there? Like I really
Well,
thought they would be so
Ingram had the
fueled.
suspension. I think that might have messed with it. Kuzma, yeah, but it's been the other players. It's been JaVale McGee and Josh Hart, who's really
Hart's
stepped
played
up
well.
Yeah.
really, really well. And I mean, they got a good team next
Do they?
year.
Yeah.
Next year.
It's weird. I think
next
like,
year.
Here's a problem
Not
with
this
LeBron
year.
teams, right? Like LeBron teams, especially early, he spends a lot of time kind of feeling out the game and
Yeah.
feeling teammates and kind of like he's not playing like his normal ham LeBron right from the get-go. And so there's so many things going on. Is LeBron playing the 4? Can he play minutes at the 5? Then okay, well, does that mean Kuzma's playing the 5?
Who's he getting along with there? They're a
just
lot
so-
younger than him. Like,
They got a lot of questions in their rotation. Do you start Rondo? Do you start Lonzo?
yeah.
LeVar finally talked today for
This
the
is
first time.
this is
In
a
Belgium?
Yeah, no, he's in. I think he's in London, England right
Oh,
now.
okay.
With
Doing the Euro tour.
that JBL tour. with
This
his,
is a
his
hot
league.
take, and it's still to do with the LeBron James, obviously. And it's
Okay.
8 or 9 games in. But do you think in the back of his mind, he's maybe thought he should have rethought going to the Lakers?
No, 'cause
No,
I think
not
it was
at all.
business.
No?
It's bigger than basketball.
You think
It
it's
wasn't
just about more of the
basketball.
yeah
Pure
his
It's like
his
family.
company, you know, yeah.
Yeah,
And
family,
Bronny's going to school down there, right?
Yeah, his family, company, business ventures,
and he's done enough now where he doesn't have to cement his legacy. It's more icing on the cake, right?
I think like the being on the Lakers as he sort of winds down, it'll be a lot easier to get another star to carry the load there with him in the twilight years than it would be to get a star to come to Cleveland.
Yeah,
to wind down his career.
Perfect.
Right?
Yeah,
like
that's
he's
right.
in LA.
LA sells itself. Yeah,
wherever it's the Lakers, right?
Yes.
So you kind of play that out. But I think I mentioned this on the last podcast, right? Like watching Kyle Kuzma so far, the thing that I'm surprised at is he's not afraid of playing with LeBron. We see a lot of people end up being like passive and want to like wait for LeBron to pass him the ball, but you're seeing Kuzma on like a 2-on-1 and he's looking off LeBron and dunking it.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, this kid, he's ready.
He's got balls. Yeah,
it's tough to play with LeBron, right?
Of course it is. Sure. He's the bully of the league. Yeah, like,
Kevin Love's probably a great example, right, of just how difficult it is to kind of
Chris Bosh.
Go through that cycle.
Kevin Love was, we were saying before, he's Minnesota Timberwolves Kevin Love. Like he'll never be that. Like it's kind of
hurt now, right?
Yeah, it's
weeks without him.
Well,
again, I know it's tough because we're looking ahead to this.
It's going to be an exciting game
because it's going to be a good thing. I think you're looking for measuring sticks, right? And we've kind of had a few so far, and the Raptors have passed, I'd say, every test, right? If you think about the Celtics game, think about the Sixers game, those are sort of the big matchups we've seen so far. And so as you head into the Lakers, would you play Kawhi in LA and then rest him on
against
in the Utah, or would you flip flop it to avoid kind of the LA drama?
I think, and this is the luxury of the situation they're in, and I think the relationship that Nick Nurse seems to have built with Kawhi, or the trust he has in the team. I think you can ask him. I think you could honestly be like,
I think they do.
You can shine in this spot. If you want to play tonight, this is your game. Crush it.
Yeah.
If you want to take tonight off, I'm totally cool with that.
I think he wants to kind of see selfishly the crowd and everything how it is there, right?
I think as a ball player, you get the chills of walking on the Staples.
And you know what we're doing
in MSG, like that type of thing.
We're doing the same mistake now where we're having it's the trap game. But Utah's good.
Oh,
yeah, Utah's good.
Right, we're forgetting about we have that's the hardest game in our on our 4-game road trip.
That's a
by far,
place to play.
right?
So,
sure. I mean, personally, I want Kawhi to play in Utah, but selfishly as a fan, I want him to face off against LeBron and beat him in LA.
I want to see that too. The thing I wonder about playing in LA is the media. The media is going to be going crazy on Kawhi.
They'll be like that, I think, whether it's a DNP or he's playing anyways.
But I don't know if you have to speak to I don't think you have to speak to the media if you're not playing.
No?
I'm pretty sure. I'm not positive about that. It's been a while since I was down there covering the Raptors, so I don't really remember how that works. But I'm pretty sure if you're not playing, you don't have to speak to the media on that
might
day.
Be true. Yeah.
But either way, it's a great test for the Raptors because regardless of whether Kawhi plays or not, we're seeing that the other guys are in a position to step up and go. And we kind of saw it with Freddie because I'm super excited to see Fred VanVleet back in the lineup because I just think he adds so much to this team. And if you're, I don't know, I don't want to rank who's more important because that doesn't really matter.
On our team, third option type thing.
Right? But he is a very, very, very important part to this team and is the engine of the second unit. So to have him back in the lineup, it was funny because in the post-game interview with Leo, he kind of made the joke that he looked tired because he felt tired. He hasn't really played yet. But as he goes, that second unit goes. And as the second unit goes,
the Raptors go.
Right? So that was a dope sign to see from the Toronto Raptors. We talked about the big guys. We talked about Kawhi. Kyle Lowry doing his Kyle Lowry thing again. But if I ask you what stood out the most for you, who do you give your King of the Quarter MVP to of this game? I know the stats. We mentioned it. No one's stats really jumped off.
Yeah.
So who are you picking as who's your guy tonight?
I'll go first. I know who you're going to go with. So I'm gonna go with.
I don't know who.
I said it before.
Oh I definitely know who you're going with.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with the standard Kawhi.
Okay.
And the reason being is I still think he gets everyone involved. He doesn't have to put up 35 every night, which
to have an impact,
seems too often the case with DeMar. You know, DeMar didn't have too many 19-point nights, and the team cruised in the fourth quarter.
If DeMar didn't score 25 to 30, he didn't really have an impact on the game.
Right. Yeah. Huge.
Right?
And Kawhi, to me, even with nights like this, it still stands out that for as good as the bench was in driving that into the fourth quarter, Kawhi played such a huge part in the first 3 quarters especially, and they're just so confident because of him.
Yeah.
You see how many times he's the only guy in the paint trying to grab offensive boards?
He had a couple. Oh yeah, definitely.
He
also had a couple just like moves where I said to you guys like that's a big boy move. Like just moves where it's like you can't stop him. Whoever was gonna be guarding him, pick out any player in the NBA. It's like he was scoring with that move,
especially with that step back.
Oh, it's crazy, Mikey. What about you, man?
Well, because we said nobody really jumped off the page, this was a great all-around team effort. Like, if you look at the minutes, they were spread evenly. Nick Nurse did a great job. So I'm going to go with a weird one, but I think C.J. Miles. Yeah. I think it was really big that he stepped up. And I know 9 points doesn't seem a lot, but when all of those 9 points were from behind the arc, and that's his game, I think that this could be the punch, the start to something bigger for him, which is huge for our depth, right? You need to get him Powell, any game that him and Norm Powell have, because we know we're going to get it from JV, we're going to get it from Van Fleet. OG always brings the defense. For that second unit, the bench mob, right? Like, the guys you're going to get it from. So it's Norm and CJ that always are the what ifs.
And especially like you mentioned, right? Like it doesn't jump off the stat sheet what he did,
but it's big.
Yeah, especially as I bring up the like game logs here, right? And he was 2 for his last 10 for 3, right? So he was really struggling.
Exactly.
So it's good to just see the ball go through
and
the hoop.
Be involved.
And if you didn't watch a game, you're just tuning in live now and think, how did he score his points? He didn't score one in the first quarter and then a 3 in the third and one with garbage time. He scored them all within minutes of each other.
Yeah. It was a good
kind of with his, I think he got maybe 12, 13 minutes. But, yeah, it was just a good sign. And because, like I said, everybody was pretty much par.
Yeah.
To me, that was the X factor in the game going forward for this Raptors team and the bench mob.
I don't know. You said that you knew who I was going to pick, even though I wasn't really sure who I was going to pick. But I know who I'm going to pick now, so were you correct? I'm picking Kyle Lowry.
No, that's not who I thought you were going to say.
Who did you think I was
Pascal for sure.
No.
His boy.
I thought it had to be Pascal.
Pascal is my guy.
Pascal Pasta.
He did have an all right game, and it was more back to what I was saying, what I've become accustomed to, where his stats don't jump out, but there's a couple moves where
it's his effort.
Wow.
Moments.
He's like a little road runner. Yeah.
His effort's all over the place. But the reason why I'm picking Kyle is because, again, Kyle with 12 assists and 6 rebounds. It's just
and led the charge too.
Yeah, like it was just one of those games where they kind of came out with a kind of blah kind of first half, and it was sluggish, playing down to the competition. And I just like the way that he found Kawhi on a couple outlet passes to get Kawhi, breakaway dunks. I talked already about what he did for Serge. We know that JV is shooting 7 for 10. Why is that? He's getting the little chippies underneath the basket. Just the floor general nature of what Kyle does. And, if we are talking about Siakam always shoots a high percentage. And that's because most of his shot attempts are coming right in the paint.
And Kyle's finding them.
Yeah, Kyle Lowry on the last podcast I did with Webby, which shameless plug, Ball on Blast
MVP
podcast.
So far of the season,
every Friday morning, Ball on Blast podcast with my guy Andrew Webster. One of the questions was,
every Friday morning.
Tune in. I'm always listening.
We don't tape it every Friday morning.
Right.
It's just
Thursday.
available to the public for your listening. Every Friday morning. So we tape it Thursday night.
Competition for all the Bill Burr podcast listeners out there who are listening to that on their commute to work.
I thought you were going to say
that's your competition.
I thought you were going to say competition for your AM Sports Central.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
A shameless plug.
I'm joking, my guy. But no, we were talking about, is Kyle Lowry the actual Raptors MVP so far? And I know that, what does that even really mean? But you know what I'm saying? They played 9 games. And so,
but it means a lot. To get to 8-1, that means a lot. You don't want to be 1-8.
It's so big, right? It's so big. And we're seeing him play. You mentioned it, right? I don't know if we've seen him play your traditional point guard, floor general as well.
Just
as we've
shut up
seen
and
him
play. That's exactly
during
what he's
this
been
run.
doing. Yeah.
And I gotta find the quote because I thought it was just so funny. Because I always like to try to bring up the whole. We talked about the narrative of Salty Kyle in the media, right? And it's been kind of funny because again, anticipating that Kyle was going to have an attitude this whole season. Yeah. How is he going to react to stuff? And earlier today, while we were getting ready for the show, there's a quote that came across my timeline from, I guess it would have been Morning Shoot Around. And of course, now that I'm looking for it, I can't find it. Oh, here it is. Perfect. So, how are the Raptors' two centers, Serge Ibaka and Jonas Valanciunas different? Kyle Lowry, quote, one's African, one's Lithuanian. Right here for
that's
all
perfect.
Of that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just think that's perfect. Like
I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
He knows cliches that everyone's
that's what I was thinking
for.
when you were reading that too. Yeah.
Right? Like
just a sarcastic in your face. Like, ask me a good question. You're asking me a dumb question, I'm gonna give you a dumb answer.
Sometimes you're just not here for the cliches, right? And you're just like, okay, dude, like what are you like? I'm not making your story today. And I understand how frustrating it can be for a reporter because they have a job. They're trying to do a story each and every day.
But he evidently did. Because that got
But hey, that's a great quote wind. If you ask me. And it's also factually correct. Right?
I was in a morning scrum once, and I don't go down there very often.
Yeah.
And this was when Pat was king of the three balls, or the new sixth man, and he was out with some foot injury.
Mm-hmm. And shout out to Oklahoma City.
He'd just come back, and for those that don't know, the reporters don't get to see shoot around at all. In fact, you come in after, and you have to stay in the concourse. They tent up the exit so you can't see anything. So they come in and you just have to ask, well, how did it go? And so my question was, and I'm not a regular. I never show up. I don't know if I've even asked Kyle Lowry a question before. I said, well, how did Pat look today? And he looks and he pauses and he goes, 6'5", black. He was wearing red shorts and a red shirt. Good. Okay, Kyle. Thank you very much. Not as much. Good. Okay, good.
All right, good.
I will say though too, like one of my favorite moments in my career was actually getting just murdered in a scrum by Greg Popovich.
Oh yeah,
because he literally went through each and every person that asked a question. He just shut them down with because it was just like that, right? Like he's used to the cliches of being asked about, oh, you have the big three of Manu Ginobili, right? And he's just shutting every single person down. And so when I asked my question, he shut me down. It's like one of those things where you might have been sad,
but you're happy. Yeah.
You got to
Yeah. And then I followed up with a good question about it was something that I read in an article or whatever. So it showed I thought about it before, and he actually answered it, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh my god, he got an answer.
They were getting. Speaking of answers, I want to get back to this because obviously people are wondering about Kawhi Leonard, and here's a Kawhi Leonard quote on his foot. He says, "Quote." I think it's going to be all right. Nothing major. I just pushed off on it and kind of rolled it. I wanted to get it looked at. I'll take it. All
Cheers
good.
to that.
There we go.
Right? All good. Right? I'm okay hearing that. I want to see Kawhi against the Lakers, so all good. Utah, as we look ahead to the next 3 games on this trip, Lakers, Jazz, and then wrap it up against
Sacramento.
Surprising Sacramento.
Second in the West, Sacramento. 6-3.
Yeah.
So DeAndre Fox lighting it up.
I'm going to ask you guys this, and we'll follow this up as each game goes along. But on this 4-game road trip, what record do you want to see the Raptors come out of this road trip with after winning the first game, 3 games left? What's the record you want to see them with at the end of this?
On paper, it should be 4-0. You look at them. You look at the matchups on paper. It should absolutely be 4-0. Especially the fact that they start this game, which we all say trap game, first game of their first road trip. They're playing 3 hours behind, right? So it's 7 o'clock for the Suns, but it's 10 o'clock for their bodies. And you can't overlook that. That definitely is a factor. Think about if you've ever tried to go out clubbing at 1 a.m. instead of 11 or whatever your scenario is. It's totally different. It throws you off. So on paper we will be 4-0, but to be honest, I think you look at those matchups against Utah and against Sacramento, those could be tough. So they come away 2-2, you still got to be happy with that.
Yeah, I'll take a 3-1. Right? And my thing is, I just think the back-to-back, the Lakers and Utah is tough. Utah, regardless, is just a tough place to play. So I'm interested to see them play a close game in Utah. But if they fall in that game, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. Not going to be mad. Just like I wasn't mad with their first loss of the season in Milwaukee without Kawhi. Like I wasn't really mad at that. What about you, Mike? What do you think?
Yeah, I'd say 3-1 as well, considering Kawhi's probably not going to play against Utah, and Utah is a legit team. But the last game on a road trip is always a tricky one.
Yeah.
Kind of want to go home. We're already 9-2 if that's the record or whatever
And
it is.
Sacramento,
And kind of
and
Sacramento
right?
is playing really well. The twin owners there or whatever they got the mojo kicking in that stadium. And I mean, it could be 2-2. Man, no, it could be 1-3. But let's hope. I say,
whoa. We don't want that vibe. No. None of that negative energy.
But
the pressure on the Lakers game. Like,
yeah,
I think this team will feel.
I mean, I'm being realistic.
I really
but
do. I think the
if I
Raptors
have
will
to
feel the
say,
pressure.
I will say a 3-1 because the Sacramento game, Kawhi will be fresh. He'll be playing that game, and I'll say a 3-1.
Okay. One last thing before we wrap up, and because obviously a lot of the talk tonight after this game was centered around Kawhi Leonard, having to leave the game in the fourth quarter. And if you go back to the Sixers game, there's a moment where he got poked in the eye or whatever. He left, hard fall after a foul. Joel Embiid, and everyone just kind of like, deep breaths all over the country as that happened. Is that going to last for the whole season?
Yes.
Like, are we going to do this for the whole?
Oh, yeah.
Like, every time he falls or takes a heart, like, are we going to be holding our breath the entire time?
Yes,
like,
and
I
I'll
don't know
go.
if I can handle that.
I'll go even.
2 games.
I'll go even further. And the other sport that we're lucky to have in hockey, same thing to be with Tavares.
Yeah.
It's the new prize. It's the new new puppy, right? So
It's the new sports car in the
yeah,
driveway.
but the bigger thing with Kawhi is we might only have him for 1 year, where we know John's here for 7. So yeah, unfortunately, it's going to be like that. Especially we're certain, but we're unsure how healthy he really is. But he's a horse.
Yeah.
That guy's a workhorse. He's fine. He's going to be fine. Especially if he's taking off the back-to-back games for most of the season. He'll play roughly around 65 games, 70 games. He'll be good.
I know why it's dramatic for you, and you don't know if your heart can handle it.
Okay.
But isn't it great that people who the Raptors fan base is massive, and the passion is huge. But there's a lot of times in the season, especially when the regular season has been as predictable as it has been the last 2, where you just kind of tune out and you don't pay attention.
You don't
and
even
now
care.
it's like, what? He was late to shoot around that media members can't even see? Oh, why was that? And then you realize, he
It's
had
game 13.
breakfast-
13.
Yeah,
Why is he not
exactly.
there?
breakfast at the hotel kind of sat in his
Yeah.
stomach a little indifferent.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Every little piece of news
Yeah.
is going to matter, and we're going to take it for, like, there's a quote earlier this week, right, from the LA Times where he said, Toronto's kind of like LA or New York, and I'm really enjoying it so far. And, like, that quote spread like wildfire, and everyone's like, oh, my God, he's going to stay.
Yeah.
He likes it. He said it's like New York.
He bought a house.
So,
Housing prices went up with that.
Mortgage rates are great, TD.
Spotify says that Drake's getting many more listens because of Kawhi's comments in Los Angeles.
this is
The
what
Drizzy
the
effect.
entire season is going to be like for the Toronto
You got to
Raptors.
love it.
Oh,
It's great.
It's
every
great.
game, you're right. Every game matters, whereas it's easy to just, like, we're talking about the Phoenix Suns game, right?
Yeah.
It's 1:15 a.m.
Yeah,
Is it
we're
that
not
late?
going to the club tonight.
That's what time it is right now.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the Toronto Raptors. And you know what? I appreciate you guys for joining me. Thank you
Yeah, man.
so much. If the people want to find you, Mr. Dunlop, give out the socials. Where can we find, more of your great sports takes?
I'm Brendan_Dunlop on all the platforms. I would appreciate the Twitter follows very much. I don't think that my Instagram is that hot, so I wouldn't actually fault you, but maybe I need to figure that out.
What
If
does
you got
your-
any IG tips.
What does your Instagram consist of right now?
Pictures
boring
of
pictures
food?
of work. I got, I got a couple of selfies. I like to grab a couple of clips from the program.
Okay.
And put a couple of clips up when I get to be a little creative in that. But I think I've neglected the IG very much. So
Okay. Give Mr. Dunlop some tips on how he can be better on
Please.
IG. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Mr. Bellamo.
You can find me at MikeyBello_6 on Instagram. Same as Mr. Dunlop. It's nothing too crazy or fancy. A couple selfies as well, maybe a couple little sports takes.
This is funny because Webster last night, when I asked him that, he was like, my Instagram is just food pics because I'm washed. Which I thought was funny.
Yeah, but add me up, follow me if you want. But blessed to be here. Thank you, Sheldon. It's a great time
no
as well.
problem, man. I enjoy talking ball. Like, I know there's a camera here and I'm like waving at people and whatever and all that stuff, but like the Raptor game would end and I'd be talking to my boys about it anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's kind of just a vibe we want to roll with and be having a lot of fun doing it. So obviously I appreciate you guys coming through, joining me, especially on this like late night West Coast Raptor game. Definitely appreciate it so much, and definitely appreciate the people watching this now, as you can after each and every Raptor game on Twitter at Shell Alexander or on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander. And you know what? I want to shout out, obviously, this then becomes a podcast, which, you know, you can get in the morning if you're, whatever you're doing. I guess tomorrow's Saturday, right? So, you know, you're up doing your Saturday chores and you want to catch up on what happened on the Raptor game.
Sure.
Becomes a podcast. And you can find that as well as the Ball on Blast podcast. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's iTunes, whether it's SoundCloud, whether it's Google Play. Just search On Blast Podcast. Special shout out to the YouTube people as the YouTube videos continue to blow up.
Keep watching, clicking, and subscribing.
Yeah, keep liking, keep asking questions. I'm in the comments.
Yeah, comments. Keep doing the comments. Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
We'll try to get back.
Yeah, try to get back to people because this is a lot of fun. Just Raptors talk.
Yeah.
Raptors are doing big. Again, in closing, to wrap it up, I didn't mean the pun. That's terrible. I always call myself out when I do the pun.
Don't play it. Play it up. That's good.
I can't play it up.
You know the name is that.
build a graphic that runs across the bottom.
There is one that I add after when it goes up on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
But just during the live, there isn't one.
But it should be like the rolling banner, or you can have like the drinking game, where you want to cheers to like every time you say.
That's like every time Kawhi makes a quote,
exactly.
Right? Yes, but again, Toronto Raptors 107-98. Kawhi Leonard, the high man, with 19 points. Raptors improved to 8-1. And as a wise man once said, I did used to pray for times like this to rhyme like this. This is the Wrap It Up Raps post-game show. As always, unpolished and unapologetic. Until next time, see ya.
Peace.
On blast.